After 3 years of failed IVF and my wife suddenly wanting an open marriage, I discovered she'd been trying to get pregnant with her millionaire ex the whole time. I burned her life down at the one dinner she couldn't escape. If you've got some time and maybe a drink, settle in. This is going to be long, but every single moment of it is seared into my memory like a brand. This is the story of how I spent 3 years trying to build a family with someone who was secretly planning to build one with someone else. How I found out my wife gave me an STD from the man she was trying to have a baby with, and how I made sure everyone who mattered knew the truth at my dying father's last Father's Day dinner. It starts like a lot of these stories do, with love, or what I thought was love. I met Olivia in 2013 at a mutual friend's wedding in Seattle. I was 27, fresh off a promotion to senior architect at a mid-sized firm. And she was this magnetic force in a blue dress who made me laugh within 5 minutes of talking. We were both at the singles table, which should have been awkward, but she turned to me during the speeches and whispered, $20 says the best man cries before he finishes. He did. We spent the rest of the reception talking, ignoring everyone else. She was in marketing at a tech startup, ambitious as hell, and we had this instant chemistry that felt rare, easy. She told me about growing up in Spokane with strict Catholic parents, how she'd moved to Seattle for college and never looked back, how she wanted to build something bigger than the small-town life her parents had planned for her. I told her about my father, how he'd taught me that good architecture wasn't about flashy designs, but about creating spaces where people could build lives. She got it, or I thought she did. We both wanted the same things, or so I thought. Career, house, kids eventually, the whole package. She'd say things like, I want to be the kind of woman who has it all, you know? The career, the family, the partnership, no compromises. I loved that about her certainty, her ambition. We dated for 1.5 years. It was good, really good. Weekend trips to Portland and Vancouver, dinner parties with friends where we'd finish each other's sentences. She'd show up at my office with coffee when I was pulling late nights on a project deadline. I'd surprise her with flowers after big client presentations. Looking back, I can't tell how much of it was real and how much was performance. But at the time, it felt like I'd found my person. We got engaged in late 2014. I proposed at the North Cascades cabin, my family's place. My father had built it himself in the 70s, and it was where I'd spent every summer as a kid. Olivia loved it. She cried when I got down on one knee by the lake, said yes before I even finished asking. We got married in June 2015. Small ceremony, maybe 40 people. My father officiated, actually. He'd gotten certified online, just for us. During his toast at the reception, he had tears in his eyes. Danny's always been good at building things. Buildings, relationships, a life. Olivia, I can see you're the same kind of person. Someone who understands that the best things are built with care, with patience, with solid foundations. Build something beautiful together. Everyone clapped. Olivia squeezed my hand under the table. I remember thinking, this is it. This is the life I'm supposed to have. I remember that toast a lot now, for all the wrong reasons. The first 3 years were good. Really good. We bought a house in Ballard. Both of us were climbing in our careers, and we were that couple everyone said had their shit together. Dual income, no kids yet, traveling, enjoying life. I was designing sustainable housing projects. She was leading a marketing team. We had a plan. Kids would come when we were ready. The baby conversation started in 2018. I was 32, she was 30, and I was ready. My dad had always talked about grandkids, and I wanted that for him. For us. But Olivia kept saying, not yet. Her career was taking off. Series B funding for her company. A promotion on the horizon. I understood. I did. So I waited. Then in 2019, my father was diagnosed with stage 3 colon cancer. That changed everything for me. Dad was 68, and the prognosis was uncertain. Suddenly, giving him a grandchild felt urgent. I sat Olivia down and told her how much it would mean to him, to me, to start our family. She looked at me for a long moment and finally said, okay, let's try. We tried for 6 months, nothing. So we went to a fertility specialist. The test came back and the doctor laid it out pretty clearly. My sperm count was slightly low, but totally viable. Olivia's ovarian reserve was declining faster than expected for her age. Not impossible to conceive, the doctor said, but harder. We'd probably need help. That's when the IVF journey began. And let me tell you, if you've never been through IVF, it's a special kind of hell. It's hope and science and desperation mixed together in the most clinical, dehumanizing process imaginable. The hormone shots started first. Every night, at exactly 8 p.m., I'd sit with Olivia on the edge of our bed. She'd pull her shirt up, and I'd inject her in the stomach. Progesterone, estrogen, follicle stimulants. Different combinations depending on where we were in the cycle. Some nights she'd cry from the pain. The bruises bloomed across her abdomen like purple flowers. I'd ice the injection sites afterward, tell her she was brave, that it would be worth it. The egg retrievals were worse. They'd sedate her, extract whatever eggs they could, and I'd sit in the waiting room with other men who had the same hollow look in their eyes, hoping for good news. The call would come a few days later. How many eggs were retrieved? How many were mature? How many fertilized? How many made it to day 5 blastocyst stage? Each step, the numbers dropped. 10 eggs became 7 mature, became 4 fertilized, became 2 viable embryos. Then came the transfer. They'd implant 1, sometimes 2, and we'd go home to wait. The 2-week wait. That's what they call it in the IVF community. 2 weeks of walking on eggshells, analyzing every twinge, every cramp, every symptom. Is that implantation? Is that my period coming? Olivia would take pregnancy tests days before she was supposed to, squinting at them in the bathroom light, looking for the faintest second line. The first failed cycle. We got the call on a Thursday. I was at work in a meeting about a new residential project. My phone buzzed. I'm sorry, but this cycle wasn't successful. Your beta HCG levels indicate the embryo didn't implant. I excused myself, went to my truck, and sat there for an hour. We tried to stay positive. The doctor said it was common. First rounds often didn't work. We'd do better next time. The second round was 6 months later, after Olivia's body had recovered. $15,000. Same process, more hope. I started praying, even though I hadn't set foot in a church since I was a teenager. Please, just let this work. The call came on a Tuesday morning this time. Not viable. Olivia didn't get out of bed for 2 days. The third round, we took out a loan. $20,000 at 6% interest. Our savings were gone. But the doctor said third time's often the charm. Better protocol this time. Higher dose stimulation. 2 embryos transferred instead of 1. I remember the day of that transfer so clearly. March 15th, 2022. It was raining, and we drove to the clinic in silence. Afterward, Olivia lay on the couch for 3 days, convinced that if she moved too much, the embryos wouldn't stick. I brought her meals, rubbed her feet, told her stories about the baby we'd have, how I'd build a crib in Dad's workshop, how we'd take family trips to the cabin, how our kid would learn woodworking and architecture and grow up knowing they were wanted, desperately wanted. The call came on March 29th. I answered, put it on speaker so Olivia could hear. We're sorry, but this cycle wasn't successful. Olivia screamed, not cried, screamed through the remote control through our TV screen. I just sat there, numb. $45,000, 3 years, 3 failures, and my father's cancer was getting worse. By early 2023, my father's cancer had spread to his liver, stage 4. The oncologist gave him 6 to 12 months, maybe less. I was falling apart. I'd visit him at his house, and he'd be in his old woodworking shop, too weak to do much, but running his hands over the tools. One day he looked at me and said, "Danny, I just want to hold my grandchild, just once. That's all I want before I go." I went home and begged Olivia for one more IVF round. She was evasive, distant. "Maybe we should take a break," she said. "This is consuming us." A month later, in March 2023, she sat me down at our kitchen table and said, "I need to talk to you about something." She had this whole speech prepared about how she loved me but felt suffocated, about how we'd lost ourselves in the baby struggle, about autonomy and personal growth and all this therapy language. And then she said it. "I think we should try an open marriage." I felt like I'd been hit by a truck. An open marriage? After 10 years together, 3 years of trying for a baby, my father dying? She reached for my hand and said, "If you love me, you'll give me space to rediscover who I am." I should have seen it then. But when you're desperate, when you're afraid of losing someone, you make terrible decisions. I said yes, because I thought if I gave her freedom, she'd come back to me. And I needed her. I needed her to want that baby with me. We set rules. Don't ask, don't tell. Separate nights out. Emotional honesty, whatever that meant. I didn't actually see anyone. I couldn't imagine being with someone else. But Olivia? She started going out 2-3 nights a week. Girls' night. Networking event. Self-care. She'd come home late, smelling different, glowing in a way she hadn't in years. In April, she casually mentioned running into an old friend at some tech industry mixer. Greg Campbell, remember him? My boyfriend from college? He moved back to Seattle after selling his startup. I vaguely remembered the name. They'd dated for a couple of years before she met me. Broke up in 2011 when he went to San Francisco to chase the tech dream. She said they'd caught up, that he was doing really well. I felt something tighten in my chest, but pushed it away. My father was declining rapidly by May. Hospice moved into his home. I was there every day after work, sometimes sleeping in his guest room. Olivia was too busy with a big project to visit much. When she did come, she'd stay for 20 minutes, checking her phone the whole time. Dad would ask me privately, "How's the baby situation, son? I don't have much time." I lied to a dying man. I told him we were still trying. Late in May, I noticed something was wrong with me physically. Burning when I peed, discomfort. I figured it was a UTI from stress, went to urgent care. The doctor did a full STD panel. 2 days later, I got a call. I had HPV, high-risk strains 16 and 18. The doctor explained that while often asymptomatic in men, it was serious for sexual partners because it could cause cervical cancer in women. I sat in my car outside the clinic, shaking. I hadn't been with anyone else, not even close. I confronted Olivia that night. "I tested positive for HPV. Have you been with someone?" She exploded, not defensively like someone caught. Offensively, like I'd insulted her. "Are you accusing me? This is exactly why open marriage won't work. You're so fucking insecure." She told me I probably had it dormant or got it from a toilet seat, which I knew was bullshit. But she kept going, kept flipping it on me until I apologized, until I felt like I was crazy for bringing it up. She refused to get tested, "Because you clearly don't trust me." That's when something shifted in me. I couldn't ignore my gut anymore. I started digging. I checked our phone bill. There were hundreds of texts to one number that wasn't saved in her contacts. I did a reverse lookup. Greg Campbell. I checked our credit card statements. On nights she said she was having girls' night. There were charges at expensive restaurants, Morton's, El Gaucho, not places you go with girlfriends for casual drinks. I looked at Instagram. A mutual friend had posted from a tech networking event, and there in the background was Olivia sitting close to Greg at a cocktail table, laughing, his hand on her knee. Then, late one night in June, I found the burner phone. Olivia was in the shower. Her purse was on our bed. I wasn't even snooping intentionally. It just fell open, and I saw it. A second iPhone, cheap case, tucked in the inner pocket. I picked it up. It was unlocked. I opened the messages. There was one thread labeled G. The first message I saw. "When are you going to tell him?" Olivia's response. "After the procedure. He won't leave. He needs me for the baby." Greg. "I still think this is insane, but if you're sure the kid would be ours." Olivia. "I've tracked everything. Next week is the window. Daniel's sperm is trash anyway. 3 failed IVFs prove that. Our baby would be perfect." I read that message 3 times before it actually sank in. Our baby. Not my baby with Olivia, their baby. Greg and Olivia's baby. She wasn't just cheating. She was trying to get pregnant with him while staying married to me. I sat on our bedroom floor, phone in my hand, and something inside me just broke. Not broke like crying, broke like something structural giving way. I'd spent 3 years, $45,000, and a piece of my soul trying to give this woman a baby. And she wanted someone else's child. She wanted his genetics and my bank account. The shower turned off. I put the phone back and walked out of the house. I drove to a park and sat in my truck until dawn. Over the next 3 days, I called in sick to work and became a detective. I accessed Olivia's iCloud backup. We'd always had a shared family plan, and I'd never changed the settings. I found emails from a private fertility clinic. Subject line, intrauterine insemination consultation. Partner, Greg Campbell. She had an appointment scheduled for July 10th, 2 weeks away. She was going to have a clinic inseminate her with his sperm. I found bank statements I hadn't seen. She'd withdrawn $8,000 in cash over 3 months. The fertility clinic deposit. I found draft emails to a divorce attorney asking about protecting assets in the event of divorce post-childbirth. I cross-referenced everything: the texts, her calendar, an ovulation tracking app on the burner phone. She'd been sleeping with Greg since February, a full month before she asked for the open marriage. The open marriage wasn't about her finding herself. It was about legitimizing an affair that already existed, about covering her tracks while she tried to conceive with another man. And the IVF failures? I found medication logs. She'd been skipping doses, forgetting hormone shots. She'd sabotaged our attempts. The STD? I found an email Greg had sent her in July of last year, with his medical records attached. HPV positive. She'd known for almost a year. Known and didn't tell me. Continued having unprotected sex with me during IVF attempts while infected. My father's health crashed that week. He was moved to inpatient hospice, too weak to come home. I sat by his bed, holding his hand, and he asked me again, "Did you and Olivia work things out? I'd love to know there's a grandchild coming, Danny. That's all I want." I couldn't speak. I just held his hand while he fell asleep. That night, I sat in my truck in the hospice parking lot and called my sister Jennifer in Portland. I told her everything, all of it. When I finished, there was a long silence. "You have to divorce her," she finally said. "But Dad doesn't need to know. It would destroy him." "I want her to hurt," I said. "The way I'm hurting, the way Dad is hurting. I want everyone to know what she did." Jennifer was quiet again. Then make her hurt, but do it right, do it smart. That's when I made my decision. I wasn't just going to divorce Olivia, I was going to make sure everyone in her life knew exactly who she was. Her parents, our friends, her fucking career. But I had to be smart. I had to build this carefully, like a blueprint. I hired a private investigator through a lawyer friend. Within a week, I had photos. Olivia and Greg entering his condo on Mercer Island, kissing in his car, coming out together in the morning. The PI was thorough. I met with a divorce attorney, Sarah Chen. Washington's a no-fault state, she explained. But adultery combined with fraud and reproductive coercion could impact asset division significantly. The IUI appointment was the smoking gun. She drafted papers, but I asked her to wait on filing. Because I had a plan, I came home one night and played the devoted husband. "I've been thinking," I told Olivia. "Maybe we should try IVF one more time. For my dad. He's getting worse." She looked uncomfortable. "Maybe. I need to think about it." I pushed a little. "What if we did something special for Father's Day? Bring both our families together. One last big celebration with Dad before." I let it trail off. She hesitated. I could see her calculating. If she said no, she'd look heartless. Her parents would ask questions. And besides, she was confident. She thought by Father's Day she'd be pregnant with Greg's baby anyway. She could play the doting wife one more time. "Okay," she said. "Let's do it." I booked the private room at Ruth's Chris in Bellevue, my dad's favorite restaurant. I invited my father, Olivia's parents Sharon and Michael, and Jennifer. I told them all it was Dad's final Father's Day celebration. Something special. Olivia couldn't back out without looking like a monster. Then I built the slideshow. I called it Our Love Story when I told the restaurant staff. They thought it was a sweet tribute. They helped me set up a laptop and projector in the private room. What they didn't know was what was actually in those slides. Pages 1 through 5. Wedding photos, happy memories, smiling faces. Page 6, our IVF timeline, clinic visits, hopeful faces. Pages 7 through 15, screenshots of text messages, medical records, bank statements, private investigator photos, the fertility clinic appointment confirmation, everything. The final slide. To build something real, you need a solid foundation. Ours was rotten from the start. I practiced my delivery in front of the mirror, calm, measured, not angry, just factual. I knew this would devastate my father, but I also knew he deserved to understand why there would be no grandchild, why the daughter-in-law he'd welcomed into our family had destroyed any chance of the legacy he wanted. Father's Day 2023 arrived June 18th. I woke up early, watched Olivia sleep for a minute, kissed her forehead, last time. Today, I thought, I demolish everything you built on lies. Father's Day, 2023 arrived June 18th. I woke up before my alarm, around 5 a.m., couldn't sleep, watched Olivia for a minute, still asleep, her face peaceful, innocent looking. It's funny how people look when they don't know you know. I kissed her forehead, soft. That would be the last time I'd touch her with anything resembling affection. Today, I thought, getting in the shower, I demolish everything you built on lies. The restaurant's private room was perfect. I'd visited 2 days before to set everything up with the manager. Round table with a white tablecloth, set for 7. Soft lighting that could be dimmed. A screen mounted on the wall, and I'd already tested the projector connection from my laptop. The manager thought it was sweet. A tribute video for your father? That's beautiful. He's lucky to have you. If only she knew. My father arrived first, at 5 p.m. sharp. The hospice nurse, a kind woman named Patricia, wheeled him in. He was so thin now. His sweater hung off his shoulders like it was draped on a hanger. But his eyes lit up when he saw the room, the table settings, the flowers I'd ordered. "Danny, this is too much." "Nothing's too much for you, Dad." I knelt beside his wheelchair, held his hand. His skin was papery, cold. "How are you feeling today?" "Good enough to be here," he said. "That's what matters." Olivia's parents arrived next. Sharon Taylor, 62, retired elementary school principal. She was wearing a floral dress and pearls, her hair in the same tight bun she'd worn in every photo I'd ever seen. Michael, 65, tax accountant, uncomfortable in a sport coat, was already checking his watch. They'd driven from Spokane that morning. "Daniel!" Sharon kissed my cheek, then went to my father. "Robert, it's so good to see you. You look well." She was lying, and we all knew it, but that's what you say. Jennifer arrived 10 minutes later. My sister, 34, flew up from Portland yesterday and stayed at my place. She knew what was coming. When she hugged me, she whispered in my ear, "You sure about this?" "Too late now," I whispered back. Olivia showed up at 5:28, late as usual, but this time I knew why. I'd checked the GPS tracker I'd installed on her car 2 weeks ago. She'd been at Greg's Mercer Island condo from 2 p.m. to 5 p.m. Probably why her hair looked freshly blown out and her makeup was perfect. She was wearing a cream-colored dress, expensive, new. I'd never seen it before. Probably bought it with the cash she'd been withdrawing. She made her entrance, apologizing. "I'm so sorry, traffic was a nightmare on 5 and 20. She kissed my father's cheek, squeezed Sharon's hand, gave Michael a hug, then came to me, kissed my lips. I could smell Greg's cologne on her neck, something expensive and woody. I smiled. "You look beautiful," I said. "You too, honey," she said, touching my arm, playing the perfect wife. We ordered drinks, made small talk. The server brought appetizers, calamari, bruschetta, a cheese plate. My father talked about the old days, back when he was building houses in the 70s, before architecture got so complicated. How he'd taught me to use a circular saw when I was 10, and I'd nearly cut through my shoe. Everyone laughed. Olivia laughed too, touching my shoulder, playing her part flawlessly. Michael asked about work. I told him about the new sustainable housing project. Sharon asked Olivia about her marketing job. Olivia launched into some story about a difficult client, how she'd turned things around. She was charming, funny. Everyone at the table was smiling. If you'd have looked at us, you'd have seen a normal family dinner. A son celebrating his dying father's last Father's Day with his wife and in-laws. Nothing out of the ordinary. But I was watching the clock. 6:15. Time. I stood up, tapped my water glass with a knife. "Excuse me, everyone. Before dinner arrives, I want to say something." Everyone looked up. My father smiled. "You don't have to make a speech, Danny." "I do, actually." I walked over to where my laptop sat on the side table. "Dad, today is about you, about family, about truth. I put together something I want everyone to see, a tribute of sorts to family, to what it means to build something real." I saw Jennifer go very still. Olivia was smiling, but there was something uncertain in her eyes now. She didn't know what I'd prepared, but she was starting to sense something was off. "Daniel, that's so sweet," Sharon said. "Robert, You raised such a thoughtful son. I dimmed the lights, connected my laptop to the projector. The screen glowed white. This is a story, I said, about building, about trust, about what happens when the foundation you're building on turns out to be rotten. First slide. Our wedding photo. Both of us smiling, young, hopeful. The cabin in the background. 10 years ago, Olivia and I got married. We promised to build a life together. Olivia relaxed a little. She probably thought this was just a sentimental tribute, maybe a renewal of vows or something. Next slide. Photos of our house. The Ballard Place with its blue door and small front yard. We bought a house, built careers. We had a plan, a blueprint for our future. Click. Photos from our travels. Olivia and me in Portland, at a vineyard, on a beach. We were happy, or I thought we were. Click. A photo from the IVF clinic. Olivia and I in the waiting room, holding hands. I'd forgotten that existed until I found it on her phone. 3 years ago, we decided to start a family, but it wasn't easy. We needed help. The mood in the room shifted slightly. Sharon leaned forward. "Oh, honey, we didn't know you two were trying for a baby." "We kept it private," I said, not looking at Olivia. Olivia wanted it that way. We went through 3 rounds of IVF, 3 years, $45,000. My father's hand went to his chest. He'd known we were trying, but not about the IVF, not about the money. 3 times we failed. 3 times we got the call that it didn't work. It broke us. Or, I thought it broke us. Click. The next slide appeared. A text message screenshot, full screen, crystal clear. Olivia to Greg. "Daniel's sperm is trash anyway. 3 failed IVFs proved that. Our baby would be perfect." The room went dead silent. You could hear the ventilation system. Someone's chair creaked. Olivia's head snapped up from her plate. Her eyes went wide. "Daniel, what the fuck are you doing?" "Showing everyone the truth," I said calmly. "Keep watching." "Turn it off." She started to stand. "Turn it off right now." "Sit down, Olivia," Michael said. His voice was hard. I'd never heard him sound like that. "Let him finish." She sat. Her hands were shaking. Click. Bank statement. Highlighted in yellow, cash withdrawals. 1 to 200, 1 to 500, 2,000, 800, all over 3 months. "This is $8,000 Olivia withdrew in cash from our joint account," I narrated. When I asked what it was for, she said work expenses, gifts for her team, a new laptop. Click an email. Subject line visible. IUI appointment confirmation. I read it aloud. "Dear Ms. Taylor Roberts, this confirms your intrauterine insemination appointment for July the 10th, 2023 at 2 p.m. Patient, Olivia Taylor Roberts. Sperm donor. Partner, Greg Campbell." Sharon gasped, literally gasped, hand flying to her mouth. Michael stood up, his chair scraping loud against the floor. "Olivia, explain this, right now." "It's not, he's lying." Olivia was stammering, her face red, tears already starting. "I'm not done," I said. Click. Private investigator photos. The first one. Olivia and a man, tall, good-looking, expensive suit, standing outside a modern condo building. They were kissing, her hands in his hair. Timestamp. June 3rd, 2023, 11:47 p.m. "This is Greg Campbell," I said, "Olivia's ex-boyfriend from college. He moved back to Seattle last year after selling his tech startup. They reconnected in February." Click another photo. Olivia getting into Greg's Tesla, him holding the door open for her. Click. Olivia leaving his building the next morning, wearing the same clothes. Click. The two of them at a restaurant, wine glasses, candlelight, looking at each other the way people in love look. Jennifer had her hand over her mouth. My father was crying silently, tears running down his face. Sharon was standing now too. Olivia Marie Taylor, what the hell is going on? Click, medical records, split screen, 2 documents side by side. Left side, Greg Campbell's HPV test results, positive for high-risk strains, 16 and 18, dated July 14th, 2022. Right side, my HPV test results, same strains, dated May 30th, 2023. I let that sink in for a moment. Olivia gave me an STD she got from Greg Campbell, an STD she knew about for almost a year and didn't tell me, while we were trying IVF, while we were having unprotected sex, trying to conceive a child. Oh my God, Sharon whispered. She sat back down heavily. Click. Another text screenshot. A longer conversation this time. Greg. When are you going to tell him? This is insane. Olivia. After the procedure, he won't leave. He needs me for the baby. We'll co-parent or something. Greg. And he'll just believe it's his? Olivia. His sperm is already shit. 3 IVFs failed. If I get pregnant now, he'll think the 4th time's the charm. He'll never question it. Greg. I still think you should just divorce him first. Olivia. And lose the house. The lifestyle? No, I want your baby, but I'm not stupid. Daniel's a senior architect. He makes good money, stable. You're great, but you're also unpredictable. This way, I get the best of both. The room erupted. Sharon was screaming. You were going to trick him? Trick him into raising another man's child? Michael had his hands in his hair. Jesus Christ, Olivia. Olivia stood up, knocking her chair over. You asshole! You set me up! This is evidence, I said. My voice was still calm. That was the worst part, I think, how calm I was. This is evidence of fraud, of manipulation, of betrayal so deep I didn't know it was possible. That you recorded private conversations? You invaded my privacy. You forfeited your right to privacy when you gave me a sexually transmitted disease and planned to pass off another man's child as mine. My father's voice cut through, barely above a whisper. Danny. I went to him, knelt by his wheelchair again. His face was wet with tears. Dad, I'm so sorry you had to see this. He put his shaking hand on my cheek. Don't apologize. Don't you dare apologize. He looked past me at Olivia, and I saw something I'd never seen in my father's face. Pure disgust, pure hatred. Get out! Robert, please! Sharon started. Not you, her. He pointed a finger at Olivia. Get out of my sight. Get out of this dinner. You destroyed my son. You lied to all of us. I will not spend my last Father's Day looking at you. Olivia was sobbing now, mascara running down her face. You don't understand. We understand perfectly, Michael said. He'd moved to stand beside his daughter, but there was no protection in his posture. He looked at her like he didn't know her. You cheated on your husband. You tried to commit paternity fraud. You exposed him to disease. You stole money. You lied to us, to everyone. What else is there to understand? I wanted a baby. Daniel couldn't give me one. I could, I said, standing up. The doctor said my sperm count was fine. Low normal, but viable. The issue was your declining ovarian reserve. And you know what else I found? I pulled out a printed document from my jacket pocket. Your medication logs from the IVF clinic, the ones they keep in the patient portal. You were skipping doses, forgetting to take your hormones. You sabotaged our IVF attempts so you wouldn't get pregnant with my child, while you were planning to get pregnant with his. Sharon collapsed back into her chair. She was crying too now. How could you? How could you do this to someone? I loved her, I said, and my voice finally cracked. Just a little. I gave her everything, 3 years of hope, $45,000. My father's dying wish was to hold a grandchild. And she was planning to give that, not to me, but to someone else, while keeping me around to pay for it. Jennifer appeared at my side, put her arm around me. Olivia tried one more time. Greg doesn't want... He's not even... It was a mistake. He dumped you last week, didn't he? I said, after Father's Day was scheduled, after he realized this was getting too messy. I know because I have the text where he tells you, this is too complicated, I can't do this. Her face crumpled. That confirmed it. So not only were you planning to trap me, I continued, you were doing it for a man who doesn't even want you anymore. The server appeared at the door, clearly having heard raised voices. Is everything okay? Do you need... We're leaving, Michael said. He grabbed Olivia's arm, not gently. Come on. Sharon stood, crying, and looked at me. Daniel, I'm so sorry. We had no idea. We would never... I know, I said. That's why I needed you to see it, all of it. They walked Olivia out. The whole way she was trying to explain, crying, saying it wasn't what it looked like. But everyone in the restaurant could see her being escorted out, could see her crying. The hostess, the servers, other diners. I'd made sure this was public enough that there'd be no spinning it later. The door closed behind them. The private room was suddenly very quiet. Just me, Jennifer, my father, and Patricia, the hospice nurse, who'd sat silent through the whole thing, professional enough not to interfere. I sat down next to my father, put my head on the table, Jennifer's hand on my back. "I'm sorry," I said. "I'm sorry you had to see that. I needed them to know. I needed everyone to know what she did." "You did the right thing," my father said. His voice was so weak. "Danny, look at me." I lifted my head. "You did the right thing," he repeated. "The truth needed witnesses, and she needed to face consequences. Real ones, not just a private divorce where she gets to lie about what happened." "But your Father's Day?" "My Father's Day is watching my son stand up for himself. Finally." He smiled, just a little. "You've always been too nice, Danny, too accommodating. Today you showed her you're not a doormat. I'm proud of you." I started crying then. Really crying. Jennifer wrapped her arms around me. We ordered dinner to go, sat with my father for another hour, just talking quietly. Patricia checked his vitals, made sure he was okay. He was tired, but he seemed lighter somehow, like he'd needed to see that too. When we left, I pushed his wheelchair past the main dining room. People stared. Word had definitely spread through the restaurant about the commotion in the private room. I didn't care. Let them look. In the parking lot saying goodbye, my father grabbed my hand. "You'll be a father someday, son. A real one, with someone who deserves you. I know I won't be here to see it, but I know it'll happen. Dad, and when you hold that baby for the first time, you'll know. You'll know what real love looks like, not what you had with her. Real love." I hugged him, careful not to hurt him. He felt so fragile. He died 3 days later, June 21st, 2023. Jennifer and I were both there, holding his hands. His last words were about my mother, who'd passed when I was 16. "I see her," he whispered. "She's waiting." He never spoke Olivia's name again, not once in those final 3 days. To him, she'd ceased to exist the moment he saw those slides. I filed for divorce on June 19th, the day after Father's Day. The papers had been ready for weeks. Olivia moved out that same day, into a hotel first, then Greg's condo. I didn't hear from her directly. Everything went through attorneys. The funeral was June 24th. I told the funeral home Olivia was not welcome. She showed up anyway, stood in the back of the church in dark sunglasses, left before the reception. My father's will, which he'd updated 2 months before he died, left his house and woodworking shop to me. It had originally included a provision for his daughter-in-law. He'd crossed it out by hand. The fallout was immediate and total. Olivia's mother called me 2 days after the funeral. "Daniel, I don't know what to say. We had no idea. We're horrified. We've told Olivia we can't have contact with her until she gets serious help." Her father sent an email demanding Olivia repay the $15,000 they'd loaned her for home renovations over the past year. That money had gone to fertility treatments with Greg. Their extended family took my side. Aunts, uncles, cousins. Olivia was uninvited from family gatherings. At her own cousin's wedding that August, she wasn't on the guest list. Our mutual friends divided, but most sided with me after seeing the evidence. A few people tried to stay neutral, but it was impossible. Couple friends ghosted her entirely. One friend told me later, "We can't look at her the same way. She faked infertility to cheat. That's psychotic." Someone leaked screenshots to a wider group chat. Word spread. Suddenly Olivia was that woman who tried to trap her husband with another man's baby. Her career suffered too. One of our couple friends worked at her tech company in a different department. Word got around internally about the situation. HR started investigating and found that Olivia had been expensing dinners with Greg as client meetings on the company card, personal use of company funds. She was put on a performance improvement plan, basically a demotion, lost her team lead position, 20% salary cut. And Greg, he ghosted her by mid-July. Texts like, "This is too messy, I can't do this." Blocked her number. I heard through a mutual connection that he'd gotten back together with an ex-girlfriend in San Francisco. Apparently, he'd never actually wanted a baby. Just liked the attention and the affair. Olivia spiraled. She moved into a small apartment in Northgate. Couldn't afford anything else. The HPV diagnosis was confirmed, and she needed multiple procedures. colposcopy, then a LEAP procedure for abnormal cervical cells, high risk of cancer long term. In August, she was hospitalized after a severe panic attack at work, passed out at her desk. The ER called me because I was still listed as her emergency contact. I went to the hospital. I don't know why. Maybe morbid curiosity. Maybe some fucked up sense of duty. She was in a bed behind a curtain, sedated. She opened her eyes when she heard my voice. "I'm so sorry," she whispered. "I destroyed everything." "Yeah," I said. "You did." The ER doctor pulled me aside. She had a mental health evaluation. Suicidal ideation screening came back high risk. We're keeping her for 72 hours. I stood in that hallway and felt conflicted. Part of me felt vindicated. She was suffering. She deserved to suffer. But another part of me wondered if I'd gone too far. If humiliating her in front of both our families at my dying father's last dinner had been necessary or just cruel. I talked to Jennifer about it later. "She's falling apart. Part of me feels guilty. She gave you an STD while planning to trick you into raising another man's baby," Jennifer said. "Dad died heartbroken because of her. You didn't do this. She did." But the public humiliation, would a private divorce have made her face real consequences? Would her parents have believed you without seeing the proof? Would her friends? I didn't have an answer. The divorce was finalized in October 2023. Mediation was brutal but quick. My attorney presented the evidence. Her attorney tried to fight but had nothing. I got the house, 70% of our assets, no alimony obligation. She kept her retirement account and her car. I added one condition. She had to sign an affidavit confirming the fertility clinic appointment was for her and Greg Campbell. I wanted it in legal writing. Olivia signed everything. She looked hollowed out. After the divorce, she tried to reclaim some narrative on social media. Vague posts about healing from betrayal and finding myself after emotional abuse. Positioning herself as the victim. Some people who didn't know the full story felt sympathetic, but most people knew. And her comment sections were brutal. For months after, I'd wake up wondering if I'd become the villain in someone else's story, the vindictive ex-husband who destroyed a woman at her lowest. But then I'd remember, I didn't cheat. I didn't lie. I didn't give someone a disease and lie about it. I didn't plan to trap someone with another person's baby. I just made sure the truth had witnesses. Still, I questioned myself. Late at night, alone in the house that was now just mine, I'd think about my father's face in that restaurant, the shock, the tears. Did he need to know? Did I rob him of peaceful ignorance in his last days? But then I'd remember what he said after. "You'll be a father someday, a real one." He died knowing I deserved better. Maybe that was worth it. The first year alone was strange. I threw myself into work, got promoted to lead architect on a major sustainable housing project downtown. Therapy twice a week, processing everything. Grief over my father, rage at Olivia, loss of the future I'd imagined. I started taking woodworking classes, using my dad's tools from his shop. There was something calming about working with my hands, building something real, something physical, a table, a bookshelf, things that would last. I sold the Ballard house in early 2024. Too many memories. Bought a small modern condo downtown with floor-to-ceiling windows. Minimalist, clean, a blank slate. I traveled alone for the first time in 15 years. 2 weeks in Japan, looking at architecture, eating at tiny ramen shops, getting lost in Tokyo. One night in Kyoto, I sat in a traditional bathhouse and realized I haven't been alone since I was 27. I don't even know who I am without her. It was terrifying and freeing at the same time. Back in Seattle, I started hiking more. North Cascades trails my father had loved. I took up photography. Small hobbies that had nothing to do with building a family or a career or anyone's expectations. In the fall of 2024, I met Lauren. It was at a woodworking class, actually. She was struggling with a dovetail joint, and I helped her adjust her technique. We got coffee afterward. She was 33, a pediatric NICU nurse, divorced 2 years ago. No kids, but she loved them, obviously. Her ex had cheated with a coworker. "Trust takes time," she said when I briefly mentioned my divorce. I didn't tell her the details, just, it ended badly. "I get it," she said. "My ex had an affair. It fucks with your head, makes you doubt your own instincts." We started as friends, coffee after woodworking class, then hikes, dinners, art galleries, no pressure, no expectations. It was the first time since Olivia that I felt like I could breathe around someone. Months passed. I introduced her to Jennifer over Thanksgiving. They got along immediately. Lauren didn't push about my past, about kids, about the future. She was just present. I always thought I'd adopt if the right partner came along, she mentioned once casually. Not a pitch, just a statement of fact. By early 2025, we were serious. She moved into my condo in March. We talked about the future the way healthy people do. Open, honest, no timelines, no pressure. I spent years obsessing over having a baby, I told her one night. And it nearly destroyed me. Now I just want to build a life with someone real. Then let's build it, she said. However it happens. In January 2025, I ran into Olivia at a Whole Foods in Capitol Hill. We saw each other across the produce section. She looked thinner, tired, older than her 36 years. We made eye contact for a second. She looked away quickly and left her cart there, walked out of the store. I felt nothing. No anger, no pity, no satisfaction. She was a stranger. Lauren asked me later if I was okay. Yeah, I said, and I meant it. Lauren and I got married in May 2025, small ceremony at the North Cascades cabin, the same place I'd married Olivia. But this time, it felt different, real. Jennifer was my best person. Lauren's parents flew in from Michigan. We wrote our own vows. Mine were about building something that would last. In June, Lauren told me she was pregnant, 12 weeks, natural conception, completely unexpected. We'd talked about trying eventually, but she'd been on birth control until March. Apparently, nature had other plans. I cried. Not sad crying, not even really happy crying. Just release. 3 years of IVF, $45,000, and it happens naturally with someone who actually loves me. We're due in December. I heard through a mutual friend what Olivia's life looks like now. She's still at the tech company, but in a junior role. The HPV requires annual colposcopies. High-risk strains never fully go away. She's single. Greg married that San Francisco girlfriend last month. Olivia's still estranged from her parents, limited contact for holidays only, no baby. The stress and the HPV complications made her fertility issues worse. She's 36 now. Time's running out. I don't take pleasure in that. I really don't. But I don't feel guilty either. Yesterday was Father's Day 2025. Lauren and I drove to the cemetery where my dad is buried. We brought flowers and placed one of the ultrasound photos against his headstone. Lauren gave me space to talk to him alone. Dad, I said to the stone, I wish you were here. You'd love Lauren, and you'd be losing your mind about becoming a grandpa. I touched the smooth granite. I finally understand what you meant about building something real. It's not about blueprints or timelines or forcing things. It's about finding someone who wants to build with you, not on top of you, not around you, with you. Driving home, Lauren had her hand on her small belly. I thought about the question I'd asked myself 1,000 times. Was it worth it? The revenge, the public destruction, the fallout? I still don't know. Some days I regret how I did it. Not because Olivia didn't deserve to face consequences, but because I gave her so much real estate in my head for so long. Because I let her actions shape who I became, even in revenge. But here's what I do know. You can't build a real life on lies. And when you discover the foundation is rotten, you don't just patch it. You tear it down completely and start over with something solid. My son is going to be born in December. I'll name him Robert, after my father. I'll teach him what Dad taught me. Build things that last. Love people who are honest. And never, ever settle for a blueprint drawn by someone else. As for Olivia, I genuinely hope she finds whatever she's looking for, just not in anyone else's life. I'm done building around her. I'm building for my family now.